Welcome to Convention Reviews. Today we will be talking about Animazement 2024, a convention that takes place in Raleigh, North Carolina at the Raleigh Convention Center. Animazement is quite a unique convention, considering that it takes place over the Memorial Day weekend and is also considered to be one of the largest anime conventions, at least in the Carolinas. One of the unique things about Animazement is that it is also one of the older anime conventions in North America, dating back to the late 1990s. The convention has been at this venue since 2009 and has been there ever since, though the convention was canceled for 2 years during COVID. One of the unique things I find I like about this particular convention is that they seem to have a lot of variety when it comes to events and guests. Specifically, because they have been around for so long, they've built up a lot of really good relationships with a lot of Japanese guests, and we're able to get some really high quality content for this convention. But even outside of just anime voice actors, they also have a lot of musical talents, both traditional Japanese musical artists, rakugo, as well as rock concert as well. So there definitely was a wide variety of content, to say the least. Another thing I have really come to enjoy about Animazement is that it has a wide variety of fan content as well. It has really fostered a lot of really high quality panelists, both new and old, over the years, and really has developed itself into being a really unique experience. I'll even admit for myself, I have been paneling at this particular convention for many years, and I believe it actually was my first convention as well. And it really has provided some really good grounds to, try out some new projects and, really get a lot of really great fan engagement. A great example of this is that there are many long running panelists that have made some really high quality content year after year to contribute to this convention. A few noteworthy fan panelists I like to point out is Anime Fails, which really gets a lot of these really fun, interactive kind of scenes of these characters failing, and it's a really big draw year after year. There's another group of creators who do Japanese music videos, but it's like the worst of the worst content. So it's kind of falls into that it's so bad it's good. Arguably one of the most creative ones I've ran across at this convention was actually on a Sunday, where one of the panelists actually was showing their collection of vintage home video movie memorabilia going back to like the very beginning up until now. And, it really kind of was interesting to see how much the technology has evolved from like, going back to like the Super 8 all the way to, the current Blu-ray and 4K discs we see today. And, really seeing some of the technologies that try to get out the door and just didn't make it, especially looking at it through the lens of the anime fandom. Animazement also has a few featured panelists as well, such as the Awesomely Bad Crew, Fatal Fanatics, and the Third Impact Anime podcast group as well, which have consistently produced some pretty good content over the years. But out of all the panels, one that's arguably the most interesting to me is from the invited guests. There is a project that's been running for several years called the Animator Dormitory Project. Essentially, is trying to bring greater acknowledgement towards the fact that new and up and coming animators do not get paid a lot of money. And it essentially is a project to raise money so that they can have a dormitory to stay in while making their way into the anime industry. And it has become a very popular attraction for the last several years. It raises a lot of money and really is kind of a great way to bring connection between the fans and these new and upcoming talent. And you never know, who's going to become the next, big director or lead artist. Could make their start from here, which really is kind of a unique element that I really have not seen at a lot of other conventions. Another really interesting aspect of Animazement is that the staff runs this really fun, what I like to call like internet soup presentation called Anime Hell. It has become a very popular event over the last several years, which essentially gets together a lot of these really weird videos from the internet in kind of a really artistically fun manner. It's become kind of a bit of a staple of this particular convention for many years, and I hope it continues in the future because it's always good for a laugh or just finding something weird to show your friends and family down the road. One of the other things I really enjoy about Animazement is that they're always willing to experiment with something new every year or two. And this year was actually a really interesting case of this, where they had this really fun little stamp collecting game that essentially you went all around the convention to different booths and different parts to get stamps. And at the very end, you got like a pin or like a patch for the convention, which is a little fun thing to do, on people's own time. And I know a lot of people on Thursday were starting to collect them. And the thing that was great was that uh, you essentially couldn't complete the book until at least like Friday morning, even if you were really like trying to race around to do it. So it definitely was a nice little subtle touch that I thought was fun for this convention. One of the other programming things I also really like about this convention is that they really stick to the fact that they really want Japanese media and themes throughout the convention. And a few examples of this are that they have a video room which basically plays anime throughout the entire run of the convention. A lot of cons have kind of phased this out over the years due to just the prevailing kind of changing times with the rise of the internet. But they really show some really fun movies from beginning to end. But they always start with Otaku no Video, which is always a fun little treat, especially for the younger con goers and the old heads alike. One of the other things I also like is the fact that they also have a small karaoke room, which is always seems to have people in it, as well as a small manga library which was put on by the Durham County Library, which is always a nice touch to see too. So it's good to see that there's some more smaller elements as well. One of the other things I will also point out is that Animazement's Dealer's Hall and Artist Alley also is really quite impressive. The essentially take up about two-thirds of the bottom floor of the convention center is devoted to both of these, and really has some really unique art content, as well as a lot of different things from physical media to plushies to other kinds of collectibles, as well as they have a number of really high quality merchandise for like apparel as well, which is really a nice touch as well. One of the other events that I will also point out is that Animazement also has an absolutely amazing masquerade on Saturday night. And I will say that, it has become a very large staple like many other conventions, but the thing that I find really special about Animazement is that it's kind of the right level for a lot of people who are really big into cosplay or the skit routines to kind of, up their game. Although there are a lot of smaller conventions in the area, Animazement is a really great convention if you're trying to basically kind of become like a journeyman, or you're working your way up the food chain essentially, for the people who are really big into cosplay that eventually want to go to like Otakon or Katsucon that also really heavily have a cosplay focus, which really is kind of an interesting thing to have for sort of like an in-between level of experience. Another thing I will mention really quickly is the fact that, the convention center is really at a really great location as well, in the sense that, there are many hotels in its immediate vicinity, so you don't just have to say just at the Marriott that is directly attached to the convention center. There's also a lot of places to eat outside of the convention center too, so it really has a wide variety, based on whatever your budget is or dietary restrictions, which really is an advantage compared to a lot of other cons where like there's very limited selection within your area, which really has an advantage too. One of the only real downsides to this convention is the fact that the weather is very unpredictable around Memorial Day weekend. A really great example of this is the fact that this year we had a lot of thunderstorms, and the humidity was out of control high, which is very fun to walk around in, and if you're wearing cosplay. Um, in previous years, we've had tornado warnings among many other incidents, but this year alone, we had like one big rain event that lasted for 2 hours straight. So it was really fun to see everybody kind of trapped inside the convention, waiting for it to die down enough to get back to their hotels or cars or whatever. So it's an unpredictable element of the con, which adds a layer of fun as well. Overall, I would like to say that Animazement is a really great convention for a mid-sized, mid-Atlantic anime convention. It's really got a taste of sort of the old school anime cons of sort of the yesteryear, but with a more modern facelift of today. And I will say that I love going to this con. I come back here every year for this reason alone, and I'm will say that if you're somebody that is trying to find something really unique in the anime fandom space, this convention really has high remarks in a lot of different regards. So let me know in the comments if I forgot anything or if there's anything that you found really particularly interesting about the convention that I may have forgotten about. I really love to hear, other people's opinions on this. Like and subscribe, and look out for my next video on another convention review.